back to Wild Wine Life. I'm here with Barry Waitte, owner, winemaker at Tamber Bay. Barry, you said that you really enjoy geopolitics as a hobby.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that we both share. I'm a big reader myself. Dr. Condoleezza Rice is over at Stanford, and I know she likes wine. If she ever came into the winery, what would you like to ask her if she ever visited the winery?
Oh my gosh.
Not trying to be political.
Yeah, no.
Just from your interest in geopolitics.
Well, look at it. Time and space. Right now, I feel we are in such an area, kindly said, of confusion, of unknown. I quite frankly, because I agree with you, she's a brilliant woman, and I wish she was still in more significant play than she is. But I'd ask her, because the whole idea about geopolitics and so forth is the guess of where things go, and how demographics play out, and how the political nature of that plays out, and so forth. And I would just ask her simply, where are we going? How does this play out? I think there's a lot of nervous people out there, and I got to tell you, I'm one of them. I just don't know. As I go through markets in the wine business, there's a lot of people not making decisions right now, holding on tight, all the way to just surviving. And in my opinion, and again, not to be political, but you know, a lot of this is just self-inflicted. We weren't that way a year ago at all. Though the wine industry is having a little bit of a slump at the moment, I think it could be not easily, but it could be managed through. But it's worse because of the political climate right now. So with Condoleezza, I would ask her, you know, where's this going? What's it going to mean? I love my country, and I'm here, and I'm a diehard Californian. If I had a tattoo, it would be on the state, and it would be the state with a bear hugging it, because I am a California bear. But where is this all going? And so it's a little concerning. She is such a brilliant person, and I've never met her, but I've certainly watched her, and I thought she did a brilliant job in her work with the administrations over the years. Yeah, good question. Wow, right, good one.
My daughter, when she throws a temper tantrum, I said that's not what Condoleezza Rice or Margaret Thatcher would do. And I've played numerous speeches of them, and I've noticed my daughter is now more.
She's doing what more?
She talks more rather than screams.
Yes. Okay.
It's amazing.
I think that, and I experienced that with my daughter as well. Who's turned out to be a beautiful person and now a mother, and she's a senior manager of the company and all these things. Yeah, it's the development of that emotional intelligence that comes through life that, quite frankly, some of us get and some of us don't, or there's all varying degrees. So the beauty of your being a parent, you get to watch this with your child, and there's defining moments where you go, wow. Right? You're no longer looking at that 13-year-old. You're looking at someone who just made something very mature. You try to reflect if you had any influence on that or not. Did it all come out? Was it the mother, or whatever? But these characters of Condoleezza and Margaret Thatcher. What a powerful woman she was. And but the emotional intelligence and not letting her emotions take over her intelligence is kind of how I define that. They're very impactful people, and hopefully your daughter continues that trek. I know she will. She's got a good mentor living in the house.
Well, thank you. Well, her mom has a big influence. I just simply say this is not what Margaret Thatcher. I said. You ever see them scream or yell? No, you don't. And I'm just happy my 6-year-old daughter is able to process some of that.
Yeah. Well, that's great. That's great. I gave my daughter got married 2 years ago, and I remember the father's speech that I gave, which went way too long. But what I did is I centered it on it takes a village to create an individual like this, and I exposed a lot of people in the audience that were so influential on my daughter's life. And in a public forum, I thanked them. I said, I don't know if you know how much that beautiful woman over there was influenced by you or her best friends of way back when that, came to the wedding. Yeah, it's a great development.
You said Robert Mondavi influenced you. Did you ever have the chance to meet Mr. Mondavi, and what were some of the things that you learned from him?
Well, I can easily say I read the book. And there's a number of books about the Mondavi family. And one of the original ones by an author called Conway really traced through the story. Now look at the Mondavi family and everything, as you all know. There's a lot of tips and turns and so forth. But what I saw through that was Robert Mondavi was the Steve Jobs of the wine industry. Certainly modern day wine industry. The things that he did, and for example, there's two very impactful things he did. He was one that really embraced stainless steel fermentation. Really embraced it. And now almost every winery on the planet has stainless steel tanks, right? Before that, vessels of all different constructs and things, but not stainless steel. So, point in time, that's, technology was good enough that we can take a stainless steel container and put, radiator fluid around the outside to control temperature. But he really promoted it, and that's what he was best at. But his best move, and it's one of the reasons I so enjoy living in Napa, is he realized after he started, this may be an oversimplification, but he realized after he started Robert Mondavi, and he wanted Robert Mondavi to be a not just domestic, but worldwide recognized winery, that he couldn't do it on his own. He knew he couldn't do it on his own. There's just too many wineries, too many influences. But he really kind of coined the notion that if we promote Napa and everybody in Napa gets successful, we'll all be successful. So, as I understand, he would say quite frequently, all boats will rise with the tide. And that feeling is still here in Napa, and it's probably in other areas as well. I'm not there, so I don't know for a fact, but we wineries get together all the time. We should be, I would never see this in Silicon Valley, where I have dinner every week with a whole bunch of competitors. And we talk about our growing, we talk about our customers, we talk about our successes and failures. There's no such thing as intellectual property in this business. And I think Robert recognized that early, that, gang, in this little valley, if we just talk about Napa, we're all going to be successful. And the only question I ask to the audience is, well, how did he do? How did he do? You go to a restaurant and you see that Cabernet list and you don't see Napa on there, you're probably not going to order one. I mean, there's great comfort to seeing Napa on a wine list. And it's not to be disrespectful. I'm not doing that to other wine regions. And there's certainly Pinot Noir, grape that I make 4 different wines of right now. None of it comes from Napa. It comes from other areas that are just fantastic growing regions for them. But Robert did that, and that still prevails today, I think, in certainly the family wineries. You might suggest that the ones that have been bought by larger concerns, the people are still cool, but their motivations may be a little different because they're public companies or things of nature that certainly were not, the wine industry was not born or had that for many, many years. I did meet him. I met him, I had dinner in his house at an event, so it was big, and I ended up sitting at his table. So what I had a couple impressions. The first one is everybody in that room came over to kiss the ring. Now, not technically, but everybody paid their respect. And, he's probably in his 70s at that time. And that just blew my mind. I'd never seen that before at that level of intimacy and caring. And Robert was just a gentleman about every single one of them. But here's the other memorable experience. It's kind of later in the evening, and he overheard me talking to someone else at the table. I think there was probably 8 to 10 people at the table about this long distance horse racing I was doing. And at that time, I had some good accolades in the sport. So I was boasting. And, a little bit after that, he started to talk about what he always does, passion, people that are passionate about their business. And he literally said, look at this guy over here. He's now come to Napa. He's joined up. But this horse racing that he does, sitting on a horse for 10 to 15 hours. And my head snapped back, and I didn't even know he heard it. And yet he wants to tell the whole table about this. And it's in relative nature of, this is what passion is about. This is what you can do if you really believe, if you really go. And I just continually thought, and still to this day, that's the way he talked for 40 or 50 years in the wine industry, about the wine industry. Heavy influence. I saw him again at a hamburger place. If you know where Taylor's Refresher is, or Gott's, one of those places. He was there. I sat down at his table. We had a nice casual conversation because he didn't have to show. He didn't have to broadcast anything. So it was just a little bit, how you doing? How's the family? How's your winery doing? And then I did get to see him a couple other times after, because he was a consummate worker and always dressed to a T. But his last couple of years in life, I think dementia set in. So he didn't say much. His lovely wife, Margarita, said most of the words for him. Ray, I don't know if you know this, that a number of years ago, I was elected to the board. And for the last 3 years, unrelated to my conversations about Mondavi, I'm president of the Oakville Wine Growers Association. But what that affords me is the interface to a question you asked before, which I didn't have. I get to hang out now with the CEO of Opus and the general manager of Farniente and all of Robert Mondavi, hook, line, and sinker. Dennis Groth, ex-techie, though a CFO. All these people live in Oakville, as do I. So I get to hang out with these folks. These are inspirational people. And I do absolutely believe in mentorism. And a lot of it just has to do with this behavior that people have and wanting to help other people rise to the occasion. Or as Robert said, all boats rise with the tide. And it was a sad day, but what I love about Robert and his brother and Mike Gergich and so many others, winemakers never retire. They die with their boots on. And I have a feeling I'm going to go back, but I have told my wife, but I'm going to have different boots on for each feet. I'm going to have a rubber boot for winemaking and a riding boot for horses. So.
Now, I'm a complete sci-fi nerd.
No kidding. Okay.
And I've always had fun with this question. And this one's going to really make you think. So I don't know if you're a Doctor Who fan, but I always like to say TARDIS. But you have a time machine.
Okay.
And you can do a vertical. The reason I say time machine is that you can do a vertical, not just Tamber Bay where everything has the same age. So you can truly see vintage variants with the same amount of age, since it's a time machine. So in additional to Tamber Bay, what would be the other wine that, if you could do any wine, as many vintages as you wanted, with the same age, what would it be? I mean, think of it. You could taste pre-phylloxera, post-phylloxera, first growth, or you could see what the difference is over 300 years in Alsace. What would what would be the wine you would like to do the vertical
Ah, that is a wild question. Time machine back.
of? Yeah, I mean, think of it. Whatever it is, they all have the same amount of age. So you've eliminated all variables other than vintage, and you can truly see what the vintages were like.
So one thing I was taught long ago is always go with your first impulse of thought.
Mhm.
So this may be totally off base, but I am absolutely intrigued about how Cabernet Sauvignon has become the most popular wine in the world, and yet it wasn't even a vine or a varietal in the very early 1800s. So one thing I'd like to do is to go back before Cabernet became Cabernet, where Cabernet Franc at the time was the most recognized, if not populous, wine out of Bordeaux. And it's not just taste the wines, but to talk to the people about their thoughts about why they felt they needed to make another varietal. And I'd love to get into the heads of that, how they recognize that. And this is back in the early 1800s, and how they would graft together different varietals. And so ironically, a white wine, Sauvignon Blanc and Cabernet Franc together, created Cabernet Sauvignon. It's one of those, again, those experiences just blows my mind. But I get the kind of the science behind it. But this is thinking back in the 1800s. And the thing I so adore about going to Europe in general, but to France, but I even get it when I go to Spain and Italy and talk to winemakers that are 3, 5, 10 generations in, is listening to their family stories.
Mm-hmm.
So I can almost just pick any one of those and say, let me go back and be in that family in the early days and how they were thinking it through and the wines that they were making. And talk about the limited winemaking techniques that they had and still made very formidable type of wines. I recently tasted a whole bunch of Bordeaux's post World War II. So the industry was getting itself back on its feet. I actually tasted a couple wines that were hidden from the Germans. So that was kind of neat. Now these wines are very old, so you have to always put that in kind of compensation of what you're drinking. But I think that's another period of time. And it may be the historical romance of it all that I'm more interested in than the actual wine itself. I just share a thing that we do all the time at our house when we have people over, and specifically people that don't know each other. Mm-hmm. And, you get in this conversation, you get in this room, it's got 10 people. And usually that group over in the corner or at the end, they all talk to themselves, but the other end doesn't talk to them. So I'll ting the glass and say, okay, we're going to play pass the bottle. And so I just pick up a bottle. And so one of the things I ask is speak to the wine that's most memorable to you. And I just pass the bottle. 9 times out of 10, people talk more of the experience. They may remember the wine. They may remember it was a Sassicaia or some Bordeaux or whatever it might be. But the bulk of the story is about the experience of that, who they were with, the scenery, the emotions. And going back to what Robert did, he always talked about it's about the connection made with wine, with people. And so I'm not directly answering your question, and I'm probably stalling so I don't have to. But if I had that opportunity, I don't say I'd do a dartboard and say, just go for it. But there's some points in time that I would just find so intriguing to see what people are doing and how they're doing. And like I am today, I'm a fly on the wall of Napa. And I get to experience it for my lifetime. But there's some stuff that went back there that is pretty neat and got us to where we are. And I tell you, if I ever thought I had a bad day, I should think about what those people went through way back when. As you said, from phylloxera to prohibition to all these things that were just game changers. Yeah. And they successfully fought their way through it and made our industry what it is today.
Thank you for joining us. make sure that you like and follow Tamber Bay on Facebook and other social media, along with Wild Wine Life. We will be right back.